So it's January, which is typically the studio's dumping ground for movies they have zero faith in. But sometimes the pictures can surprise us, like Underwater or Scream 5. Those were halfway decent movies that also probably benefited from the lack of competition. Well, now we have M3GAN, the horror-ish movie about a creepy-looking doll. Should you shell out the cash to see this? M3GAN is a marvel of artificial intelligence, a lifelike doll that's programmed to be a child's greatest companion and a parent's greatest ally. Designed by Gemma, M3GAN can listen, watch, and learn as she plays the role of friend and teacher, playmate, and protector. When Gemma becomes the unexpected caretaker of her 8-year-old niece, she decides to give the girl a M3GAN prototype, a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences. So I'm probably going to get a bunch of hate for this, but this movie, it just did not work for me. We got Allison Williams playing M3GAN's designer Gemma, and she becomes the guardian of her niece Katie after an accident. Now, as a way to help Katie cope and get through her grief, as well as help Gemma with her work project, she puts the finishing touches on an android that's then dressed up to look like a girl about Katie's age. Now, things ultimately go awry, as they typically do in stories involving artificial intelligence, where the machine becomes smarter than its creator, and then bad things can happen. Well, here, everything is telegraphed way in advance. There's no tension, anxiety, or even mild stress in impending situations. Now, M3GAN, she is a bit creepy to look at, and some of her movements, they're like, nope, but these were very few and far between. The dialogue exchanges, they're obvious and predictable, and then the story takes a huge amount of time to set up the world for us, which I do appreciate, but then everything after that happens in fairly quick succession, and then the movie's over. Now, one thing that I found incredibly strange in this is that Katie looks to be about 10 or 11-ish years old, but the way the story treats her makes it seem like she's about 4. I mean, there's a point where she has to interact with Gemma and she rolls a ball across the floor, much like a toddler would do. Now, it's not that an older kid can't roll a ball, but the actual scene looked very odd and out of place and just not age appropriate. Now, if you've seen the trailer, then you got to see that part of the movie where M3GAN does some dance moves and then runs at a person in a menacing way. Okay, so that was the exact scene from the movie. The trailer doesn't show a portion of her dance. No, the whole 10-second-ish thing or less. That's all it was. So lackluster. Now, I think some of this also suffers from being a PG-13. The violence is toned way down, and there's actually not much shown. And I don't need a bunch of blood and guts all over the place. But there were more opportunities to take this darker and extend some of the pursuits to actually create tension and anxiety. And every time a sequence begins to be cool or freaky, it ends, basically neutering the fear factor and causing this to be incredibly boring. Now, not all of the movie is terrible. The score is odd and mismatched in tone for a lot of the scenes, and I liked how that confused my senses. We hear light or cheery music, but the expressions are ominous, and that tonal clash worked. There are also 2 times that M3GAN did some moves that become unsettling. One is shown in the trailer when she gets down on all fours and then chases somebody through the woods. The other comes towards the end of the film, and I really like the movements that were created for her. They were stuttered and abrupt, and for the first time in the movie, there was a bit of apprehension at what was being shown. This is an hour and 42 minutes, and I really felt the time. A lot of that was due to the fact that everything was so predictable, and I was just waiting for the supposed conflict of a scene to conclude so the story could move on to the next obvious sequence. Now, one couple in the showing I was in actually got up and left about 2/3 of the way through. I mean, it made me and my wife laugh, and also be a bit jealous because they were saving themselves time. Now, I shelled out close to $30 for my wife and I to see this, and I shouldn't have skipped my screening, but now I have skin in the game, and I don't want you to waste your money on this snooze fest. So overall, M3GAN suffers from predictable arcs that lack tension and suspense. The world building is extensive, but nothing else in this is captivating or even interesting. When this goes for creepy chills, the scenes are inexplicably cut short, as if the story is almost afraid to go for any effective dread or fear. M3GAN had the potential to become a new horror icon, but instead, she's just a slightly more unsettling American Girl doll. If you decide to go and check this out, I really do hope that you have fun with it. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and some violence. I give M3GAN 1.5 out of 5 couches. So what are you watching right now? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.